This week we discovered the Calmac Ferry MV Glen Rosa won't be completed until June 2026, and that's at the earliest. It will enter service at least 8 years late. So why will it take so long?
First Minister.
So first of all, I want to make clear that the time that it's taken to build the Glen Rosa is unacceptable. The Deputy First Minister set out to Parliament yesterday many of the reasons why that's the case. This has obviously caused disruption to island communities, and the Scottish Government is very focused on making sure, with the measures the Deputy First Minister outlined yesterday, that early progress is made on the Glen Rosa and that it can join the Glen Sannox in service at the earliest possible opportunity.
Russell Findlay.
Thank you. We asked John Swinney's predecessor how high the eventual bill for the Glen Rosa and Glen Sannox was likely to reach. 3 years ago, we specifically asked Nicola Sturgeon if the costs would exceed £400 million. And she said, "I simply don't recognise those numbers." Well, Scotland's taxpayers certainly do recognise those numbers, because they're the ones paying the bill for the SNP's mess. Reporting this week, the BBC said the ferries will now cost £460 million and counting. So does John Swinney at least recognise those numbers, and what will the final cost be to taxpayers?
First Minister.
Well, the total forecasted cost to complete the vessel has increased from £150 million to £172.5 million, with an additional risk contingency of £12.5 million. So I can't be definitive to Mr Findlay about that point, because of obviously the risk contingency depends on the sequence of events that take place in the completion of the vessel. But I make clear to Parliament that it is unacceptable that these vessels have cost so much, that the delays have been experienced, but the Government is very focused on making sure that these vessels enter service so that we can deliver on our commitments to sustainable ferry services to island communities.
Russell Findlay.
Well, I think that's a deeply concerning answer from the First Minister. He's clearly not willing, or indeed perhaps able, to say how much this is going to end up costing taxpayers, or when these boats will both be in service. And it was John Swinney who personally signed off what was a corrupt Calmac procurement process. He has never accepted blame. Nobody in the SNP ever has or ever does. Not a single one of them has held their hands up to islanders or taxpayers. £500 million wasted, nearly a decade wasted. So who is responsible?
First Minister.
Presiding Officer, I unreservedly accept my responsibility for everything that happens in the name of my government. That's why I'm the First Minister of Scotland, and I always accept my responsibilities in the exercise of government responsibilities. Now, Russell Findlay mentioned the engagement with island communities. I engage regularly with island communities on ferry services issues. My Transport Secretary was recently in South Uist engaging with island communities and delivering practical solutions to island communities affected by the ferry disruption. So that is what the Government is going to focus on. We will accept our responsibilities and we will deliver on our commitments to island communities, which is what the Government is doing.
Russell Findlay.
The First Minister says he's responsible. He's clearly responsible in word only and not in deeds. No SNP minister has been held to account. And the last thing these islanders need is more visits from SNP politicians. They want to see ferries. A £500 million blunder, but no SNP minister has ever been sacked. The ferry saga symbolises so much that's wrong under the SNP. John Swinney and Nicola Sturgeon shamelessly exploited Ferguson Marine and its workers for party political purposes. During election campaigns, they loved posing for the cameras at the nationalised yard. The truth is, they preferred PR grandstanding instead of providing a decent ferry service for islanders. And who can forget when Sturgeon launched a ferry with painted-on windows? John Swinney has sunk £500 million, money that could have been spent raising school standards, fixing the roads or creating more GP appointments. How much better off would people be if that money had gone into our public services instead of going down the drain?
Let's always use first and surnames. First Minister.
Let's look, President Officer, at the commitment of the Government to ferry services. So when the Government came to office in 2007, the budget for ferry services was £90 million. In the current financial year, it's now 5 times that budget.
Let's hear the First Minister.
That, Presiding Officer, is to operate. That, Presiding Officer, is to operate the services to our communities, which are now more extensive than when we came to office. Now, we've delivered the Glen Sannox into service. We've purchased the additional vessel of the Loch Freesa. We've chartered the MV Alfred and the MV Arrow to provide additional resilience. We've commissioned 2 new vessels for Isla, 2 new vessels for the Little Minch routes, and we've commissioned 7 new vessels for some of the smaller routes that are taken forward. We've progressed investment in key ports and harbours, and we are confirming revenue funding and strategic support to the island ferry services in Scotland. So this Government will keep true to its commitments.
Let us hear the First Minister.
This Government will keep true to island communities its commitments, which is principally delivered through the fact that ferry travel to our island communities is significantly cheaper than the ferry services would have been.
Members, let us hear the First Minister.
Had the Government not introduced road equivalent tariff into our ferry services. So we've made ferry services more affordable for people in our island communities. We're investing. First Minister.
I know that there are many members in this chamber who wish an opportunity to put questions today. We will be able to undertake our business more effectively if members can hear one another. First Minister.
So, Presiding Officer, the Government has invested in road equivalent tariff. We've reduced ferry fares for our island communities. We're providing specific support to island communities that have been affected by disruption, and we're investing in a new vessel fleet. That is this Government delivering on its commitments to support our island communities in Scotland.